Today I want to really help the unfaithful spouse understand a key component in recovery. It's something that I did early on, and I think it's something that we, as unfaithful spouses, all fall prey to at one time or another. Hopefully it's early on, because early on we haven't gotten as much help as we need, and so we kind of are making very elementary mistakes that are very costly. If it's down the road, then we probably have forgotten some of the help that we received, and so we're falling prey to a mistake that kind of comes out of control and kind of a dominating, self-righteous approach to recovery. It's the concept of when we, the unfaithful spouse, try and make our betrayed spouse hurry up and heal, or hurry up in their recovery. I want to tell you two stories, and then I want to give you just a few key points to make you aware of what happens when we rush our spouse. One is, early on, I'll never forget talking to Samantha, having a difficult moment. She was having some triggers and reminders, and finally I just stopped and said, "When are you going to get over this so we can start to actually heal and enjoy some new life together?" I think that was about 2 months into it, and we had had very little help. And that moment wounded her even more, because I was doing some key mistakes that were going to end up undermining the very thing that I wanted to do, which was find new life. When I said that, Samantha looked at me in a different way than I had seen her look at me during those 2 months. She looked at me in a way that it was if I was actually hurting her more. It was as if I had done something else besides what I had already done. And I was really perplexed, and I was really kind of stuck in that moment. And incidentally, she didn't talk to me the rest of that day and night. And it taught me a real significant lesson that I'll come back to in a couple minutes. Another funny story is my daughter, when she was young, we would go to this place here in Austin and we would rock climb, right? They put this big harness on, and when my daughter was younger, she was afraid of so many things. And so I took it upon myself to say, today we're going to tackle some new heights. And so we went to this place, got my daughter in the harness, and the whole family was there and a bunch of friends. And so I was going to take this day to push my daughter, to tell her she was going to get up this rock wall that she had never gotten up before. And so she started to climb, and she was getting scared, and I was right next to her, right, cheering her on, good dad. And then she started to get afraid. And rather than handle it the right way, I started to kind of push her and kind of push her, verbally really hard. Come on, you can do it. Let's go. You can get up this. Well, this was a daughter, and this was not, my kind of rough sons that were used to being talked to that way in sports. And she began to cry. And so I continued to say, look, you're going to regret this later. You've got to hurry up. Let's go. Well, she didn't get to the top. She started bawling. It was a difficult moment, and she never wanted to rock climb again. My daughter is now a much older teenager and turning 17, and to this day hates rock climbing. When her friends invite her to go rock climbing, she refuses to do it. We laugh about it and we joke about it, but the reality is that I was hurting her, and I was undermining the very thing which I was trying to do, which was inspire her and encourage her and make her brave. And she told me, I think several months ago, she said, Dad, I think you see that I'm pretty brave in life, and I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but I just hated rock climbing. And you were trying to make me brave. I was already brave. I just hated to be climbing rocks. The very thing I was trying to do, I was actually undercutting and undermining and ruining. One of the first things that we do when we rush our spouse to heal is we don't respect the wound that we have created. You see, we have created this wound in our spouse, and when we rush them, we are not showing empathy, we're not showing compassion, and we are revealing that we are not safe to them. So everything that we're trying to do, this new life, this new momentum, this pursuit of healing, it's all rooted in our own shame management because we don't want to talk about it because it makes us uncomfortable. And so what we're doing is we're making us more important to them, and we don't respect the wound that we created in the first place. And so we're creating animosity, and we're creating even more anger, and we're creating even more resentment in the heart of our betrayed spouse. Now, the counterpoint of the unfaithful spouse is, well, if they would have done X, then I wouldn't have cheated. Okay, all we're doing in that moment is revealing how far away from safety and unity and healing that we are. Because again, we are blaming them for our choices. We're putting it on them that we did what we did, and I'm sorry, we're an adult. And part of recovery work is actually admitting that we're an adult and taking responsibility for our actions. The second thing that we do when we rush our spouse is we demean them. What we do is we rush them, we tell them to get over it, we try and hurry them, and we demean them, and we disrespect them, and they feel disrespect. And when the betrayed spouse, male or female, feels disrespect, we make it harder and harder for us to get on the same page and heal because the betrayed spouse feels perpetually disrespected, and we create in them a sense of personal hatred, personal rejection. I'll come back to that. But we do not create safety. And not just safety, but disrespect. When a betrayed spouse feels disrespected, they don't want to pursue you. They don't want to be intimate with you, not just physically, but mentally or emotionally. When a betrayed spouse feels disrespected, taken advantage of, and demeaned, if you will, in this case, why would you expect them to rush to counseling or rush to therapy or rush to being intimate with you again because they feel disrespected, they feel demeaned in their recovery? And the whole reason that you are where you are is because you, the unfaithful spouse, have made the choices that you've made. Now, the counterpoint, again, for the unfaithful spouse is, well, it's been 2 months, or it's been 6 months, or it's been 2 years. Well, number one, recovery is at some level in direct proportion to the recovery work that you've done. So, okay, let's say, well, it's been 2 months. Well, what have you done in 2 months? Like, what kind of recovery work? Have you been to an EMS weekend? Have you done the boot camp? Have you seen a therapist that knows what they're doing? And have you really been doing hard work? Because even if you've been doing those things at 2 months, it's really no time at all. Most experts will tell you that it's usually going to take between as little as 12 months to as much as 24 months to heal. So just because you've done a little bit of work at 2 months isn't much time. And what you're doing is continuing to devalue your spouse's heart because you're not being patient with the fact that they have just gone through what is one of the top traumatic experiences a person can go through in marriage and in life. A third thing that we do when we rush our spouse and we shame our spouse for not hurrying fast enough is we actually create in the mind and the heart of the betrayed spouse a self-hatred or even a self-demeaning, if you will, approach. We create in them a perpetual cycle of self-hatred because what happens is, and this doesn't happen all the time, but I assure you it does happen a lot of times. The betrayed spouse feels shamed by their unfaithful spouse because they're not healing fast enough. They can't start to have sex fast enough, or they can't be, intimate, and they can't be close, or this or that. And so deep in the inner recesses of the betrayed spouse, they start to believe those voices of, I should be further along. You know what? I am kind of a failure, and you know what? I can't do anything right, and I can't even keep a spouse, and I can't even keep my spouse happy. I've failed at everything. I'm failing at this too. And you know what? I should be further along, and I hate myself. And they get into this cycle. And I see it happen time and time again. That cycle, because some unfaithful spouses would kind of celebrate the fact that maybe they would say, you know what, I should be further along, and I'm so sorry, honey, and let's connect and all of that. And the problem with that is it's very short-lived, because eventually they're going to find somebody who's an expert or somebody who knows what they're talking about and tell them, you know what, hold on, it's only been 6 months. Don't think that you should be further along. Maybe you need to do some more recovery work in this place or this area of your heart, or maybe your unfaithful spouse needs to do some more recovery work because they're not seeing that it's only been 6 months. And so you, the unfaithful spouse, are thinking that that's a good moment, that you want to have one. In reality, I promise you from personal experience, that's going to come back to bite you, because they're going to get good help and have this moment where they go, wait a minute, I shouldn't be further along than I am. I'm actually doing a lot of recovery work. You're not. You're pushing me. And now, get ready. Like a pressure cooker, they're going to explode, and it's going to stall your recovery significantly. Finally, my final counterpoint is the unfaithful spouse says, well, they're just dealing with self-pity. They got to control their thoughts and get over it. And for most of you, not all of you, for most of you unfaithful spouses, you haven't been betrayed. For you to try and think that you know how you would react if you were in that position, no matter what you do, you'll never be there, hopefully, because you've not been betrayed. And so for you to continue to tell them how they should heal, you label yourself in many ways a narcissist, because you're trying to dictate how the betrayed spouse gets to heal because of what you've done. You're a control freak. The last thing that you should be doing is telling your victim how they should heal and how they should react to the pain that you caused. One of the best things that you can do is this answer that I learned from Rick after about 4 months, 6 months into recovery. It's a wonderful phrase, and you have to mean it, but it saved my recovery. It was this sentence that I would say to Samantha very frequently. Honey, take all the time you need. I just want you healthy, and I just want me healthy. That's it. Take all the time you need. We had a fight, I'll never forget, about 2 years into recovery. It was a really difficult moment. And I slept in the Holiday Inn Express one night, and I remember coming home. We had this awkward moment in the kitchen, and I remembered this phrase, and I said, you know what? I've hurt you, and I'm very sorry, but I want you to take all the time that you need to get over this. I'll go back to the hotel tonight. That's fine. I just want you to process this and get healthy. And she sat in the kitchen and cried because she had this moment where she thought, you know, you're not as much of an idiot as I thought you were last night. We just had a difficult day or a difficult night. And yes, 2 years into recovery, sometimes you still will have some difficult moments, but that's okay. It's how you handle it which makes all the difference in the world. Finally, I just want to tell you, don't rush your betrayed spouse to heal. If you're concerned, if you feel like you're the exception, well, you know what? Email in or post a comment, and I'll do what I can to speak to it. If you're 10 years into recovery and you're like, I'm reliving this every day, well, I'm going to ask you some questions and I'll give you some feedback. But I just want to tell you, the more that you rush your betrayed spouse to heal, the more that you undermine the entire process. It's going to completely backfire on you. And I just want to appeal to you, betrayed spouses. Don't let yourself feel rushed. Don't drag your feet out of a willingness to make your spouse suffer. We've talked about that. But find the rhythm. Get the recovery work that you need to get into. Draw some boundaries. Establish some parameters for your unfaithful spouse to understand that you deserve to be loved, you deserve to be respected, you deserve to be valued, and you deserve to take all the time you need to get healthy and whole.